So they are now saying and bringing receipts that there was a civilization of human-like beings that lived on Mars over 1 million years ago, and that they were 10 to 12 feet tall.
Okay.
That's on Mars.
That's on Mars. That's a bone.
What?
Yeah. It certainly isn't a stone.
That does not look like a stone. And you got these from JPL?
Yeah.
Really?
Come right off a negative of Mars in their mapping series. See these little buildings? One there, one there. Here's 3 in a row.
Buildings?
Yeah.
This is on Mars.
Here's a building over here.
Is it a picture from a rover, or is it a picture from a telescope, or?
It's a picture from a mapping. Here's a curly Q. It's a picture from a mapping satellite. That's a satellite making maps of Mars.
Wow.
That is a non-natural edge. You don't get a 30-mile edge like that.
Wow.
By nature. That's a sheer cliff.
How long is that?
30 miles.
30 miles.
Now I'll show you where it comes from. Here it is. So that's that edge. That's just a deep chasm. That's a perfectly straight edge. It comes out of right here and goes straight as an arrow all the way across and then fades into the ground there. Here's a cavern, and it's got all this like wire stuff on the top.
So that's a subterranean cavern?
That's a subterranean cavern. You cannot see into it, but it's very deep.
And there's wiring?
That's wiring. Here's the interesting part. When we first caught this on Mars, there was a bright red light right here. That's gone out since we caught it. I actually have a photo of the light.
What?
Yeah,
What do you think?
Bright red light.
What do you think the light was? Well, that almost implies that there's something there now.
Yeah. Let me show you something else.
So there are people at JPL who definitively think.
There you go.
Is that real?
That's real. That's 3 feet long and that big around. And it's got buttons on it and a rotating thing
that
here.
was taken on Mars.
That's laying on Mars, man.
And if you sent that to like a NASA photo instrumentation specialist, they wouldn't be able to debunk it.
What they do is they say, bullshit, that's not off of Mars. Well, I have the negative.
You have the negative.
Yeah. So they can say whatever the hell they want.
And you can back it up with these JPL guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I will send you that.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll send you something else very similar.
Joe, I appreciate it, man.
I have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 60-something photographs of things on Mars that are clearly alien.
Is it possible that there was a civilization on Mars thousands of years ago?
When did you start to believe there was life on Mars?
Well, you saw the square.
Yeah.
That square on Mars.
Is that real?
Yes, it's real.
Is that real?
That's real. That's 3 feet long and that big around.
That was taken on Mars.
That's laying on Mars. These pyramidal places are like hibernation chambers. They're trying to survive until somebody comes to save them.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's not the coolest thing.
That's so cool, though. You're saying that you remote viewed a pyramid on Mars 1 million years ago.
One of my thoughts on the moon landing? Well, here's an interesting one about the moon landing. I've said this in other lives before. There's a picture of Stanley Kubrick when he's doing 2001, and he's in England. They called the studios NASA East, which is hilarious. And he's doing his shoot there, and there's a picture of him walking with a group of guys, and they have them all identified, except for one guy behind them. He's in a row behind them walking. And that guy that they didn't identify, that has never been identified, is Louis Jolyon West of MK Ultra. And West was a specialist in mind controlling people, creating cults. There's a large portion of his information that's never made it out into the public that he was working a lot with UFO people and witches and Satanists and all that to create those subcultures. Jolyon West was running one of the free clinics in one of the counterculture areas of San Francisco. Jolyon West was running it at the time clandestinely, and Manson was there getting treatment with the Manson family. And so Jolyon West was involved with that. Jolyon West was involved with Jack Ruby. Jolly and West was involved with Sirhan Sirhan. Jolly and West was involved with Whitley Strieber, the UFO guy. Jolly and West was involved with the Stanford Research remote viewing experiments. Jolly and West was involved with a lot of things, guys. If that's where the moon landing was shot, he was involved with creating the belief system around it.
Dude, did y'all see these new moon landing photos? Holy moly, dude. Look at these graphics, man. This is absolutely incredible. I mean, it don't get no better than this, man. Just look at the power of the camera they had. I mean, just look closely. Don't forget, man, I mean, the camera they had way back then, dude, that was what, like 60, 70 years ago? Even then, man, the graphics were insane, dude. Look at this insane moon. I just love these little chairs, man. You know how comfy that probably was riding on the moon? And you see articles like this right here. Why do some people believe the moon landings were a hoax? Well, I don't know. Take a look at this right here. This was the 60s and the 70s. It said, look at this picture right here. Is this supposed to be a real picture, man? Some people think we didn't really land on the moon. I mean, look, why would we think that, NASA? The sheer quality of these photos, dude, should make anyone be like, no, there's no way we didn't go. We had to have went. Look how powerful the coding is, man. I'm just saying, dude. What do y'all think?
Just hours ago, a Texas-based startup etched its name into the stars. Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost Spacecraft just became the first commercial lunar lander to nail a flawless touchdown on the moon's surface. But what secrets did it uncover in the darkness? Capturing jaw-dropping images mid-descent, Blue Ghost made history at 12:16 a.m. ET, marking America's second private moon landing since Intuitive Machines' Odysseus mission last year. Backed by NASA's $112 million contract, the lander, built with cutting-edge 3D printed parts, carries a stealth mission, 10 critical experiments to prep for human return under Artemis. Among them, a lunar drill, vacuum-sealed moon dust samples, and navigation tech to guide future astronauts. But time is ticking. With just 14 days before the moon's deadly, minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit night kills its systems, Firefly races to unlock data that could rewrite space exploration. As 99-year-old Buzz Aldrin cheered from Earth, NASA doubled down on its gamble. Another private lander from competitor Astrobotic launches this Thursday.
Donna Hare, who claims to have worked for an engineering and computer contractor associated with NASA in the early 1970s, has said that she herself has seen photos from NASA of UFOs and aliens on the moon that had been withheld from the general public, and astronauts who were there have been told not to talk about it. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but I'm also not saying it's false. I'm just saying that that's what Donna Hare has claimed for decades now. In fact, she said NASA used the code name Santa Claus for the UFOs and aliens they'd see on the moon. So if anybody was listening in on their conversations, you wouldn't know what they were talking about. Now, for years, a lot of people, way more than just Donna Hare, have speculated that there might be an alien base on the dark side of the moon. And some of NASA's own photos show stuff that's kind of suspicious. Then there's other people, like me, who think it's a possibility that the moon itself could be some type of alien space station that's been up there for well over 100,000 years. But my question to you, yeah, you back there with the head, do you think it's possible that there are alien bases on the moon, or the moon itself might be an alien base? Let me know in the comments section. And remember, cross your fingers, because it's easier than crossing your toes.
What if I told you the universe is only here because you exist to observe it? So this book right here is The Anthropic Cosmological Principle, written by Frank Tipler, who is a mathematical physicist, and John Barrow, who is a physicist and cosmologist. This book sets out to explore one of the deepest questions in cosmology. Why is the universe seemingly so perfectly fine-tuned for life? They speak to the strength of gravity. If it was slightly stronger, stars would burn out too quickly and collapse before life could be formed. Slightly weaker and stars wouldn't form properly, meaning no planets, no complex chemistry, no life being formed. If there was a tiny variance in electromagnetism, life could not be created. The same with strong nuclear force, the same with weak nuclear force. The ratio of electrons to proton mass, the balance between matter and antimatter, cosmological constant, which is the constant that controls the expansion of the universe. If any of these were even slightly off, life would not exist. So back to the question, why does the universe seem so perfectly tuned for life? First option is the weak anthropic principle, or WAP, W-A-P. WAP simply states that the universe allows for observers, otherwise we wouldn't be here to observe it. It's not hard for you to understand that you live on a planet that allows for life, because if you didn't, you wouldn't exist. Out of all the possible universes that you could exist in, you exist in the one where life could emerge, because otherwise you wouldn't exist. Next one is the SOP, the strong anthropic principle. The universe was not randomly suitable, but it was bound to be this way. In religion, people would say God created this so that we could exist. In other interpretations, it's just simply that the universe is so precisely constructed that life was inevitable to emerge. And they propose a third in their book, which is called the FAP, the final anthropic principle. Not to be confused with NoFap, but FAP simply states that once intelligent life emerges, it can never be fully extinguished. It can never fully die out. In fact, that intelligent life will take control of its cosmic evolution, which potentially leads to a future where intelligence actually begins to shape the universe itself. It's a really fascinating book that connects physics, philosophy, and even esoteric ideas about consciousness, reality, the constructs that we live within. Key takeaways: that the universe is precisely designed for life, like so precisely that it is not logical to think that it came about by accident, right? Occam's razor. 2, observers are necessary for creation to exist. The observer collapses into reality, creation. And 3, the final destiny of intelligence could be to take control of cosmic evolution. And it's 3. It 100% is 3. All the friction, all the chaos that's going on, that's just the contractions before birth. That's just the friction within the cocoon before the emergence. Ask yourself, if the earth is a womb, and if this chaos, this friction you're feeling is the push and pull that is necessary for birth, what is being birthed?
TV isn't just entertainment, but a tool to keep you asleep inside the simulation. Think about it. TV and mass media don't just inform, they program. They tell you what to buy, what to believe, what to fear. It's not just content, it's code, shaping your reality. Ever notice how TV just puts you in a trance? Your brain just goes into low energy mode, absorbing information without questioning anything. Sounds a lot like a mass hypnosis program designed to keep you asleep in the simulation. What if waking up means questioning reality, but the simulation doesn't want that? So it floods you with distractions, celebrity gossip, fear-driven news, binge-worthy shows, a constant barrage of information, keeping you busy, entertained, but never aware. So here's the question. What happens when you unplug? When you stop letting the simulation dictate to you what your reality is? Maybe that's when you start seeing the code of reality for what it is. Real meaning. Truth. What do you think? Is TV just entertainment, or is it programming your reality?
Want to see a crazy UFO video and proof that they're coming out of the ocean? Island State Beach Park on January 27th. Beach cameras caught this happening all night long. These aren't fake either, and they're not drones, and they ain't birds, and they're not planes. These are UAP coming from the ocean.
Mate, these sightings are becoming so surreal at the moment. We have two orb-shaped square objects floating in the sky in a place called Brandon in Suffolk. Look at that, mate, right? We have seen these so much. Lieutenant Ryan Graves, a Navy fighter pilot, came in contact with multiple UFOs, and he spoke about this on Lex Friedman's podcast about close encounters with orbs with cubes inside. There was one that was seen in Wales not too long ago of a strange cube floating in the sky that darted off and it had some sort of energy field, like force field around it. And there was a sighting in East Sussex in 1999 that got reported about these strange cube-like structures that were floating through the sky and then jolted away. Look at this, mate, right? I cannot stress anymore about the stuff that is going on, guys. People need to start paying attention, because this is stuff that is reoccurring worldwide. And this sighting in itself, these two objects are floating in the sky and then darted off shortly after, okay? Made no noise, like most objects that we see on this channel. Absolutely incredible, man. And Suffolk is prolific for UFO activity in itself. There's some amazing and famous cases coming out of that place. So this is not something that we've only just been seeing. I'm stumped, mate. Right, guys, we got some footage that's been sent over from Ukraine right now of during a storm or something of the sort, some flashes happen, and look at the state of this object, bro, flying up and down and spinning around in the sky. Right, we're going to zoom in and enhance it, okay? Look at that. What is that about Ukraine? Okay, so, right, let's read here. My father sent me this, claiming he filmed a UFO with his home camera in Ukraine. What could this really be? What do you think? Well, I mean, whether this is filmed during a storm, I am not entirely sure. I mean, this is hella interesting, the way this thing is kind of gliding through the sky. It's glowing, obviously, because it's being picked up on a night vision camera, and it's kind of pulling some crazy maneuvers. But unless this is some... It depends where he's living, if it's somewhere in the areas where the war's happening right now. Is this potentially some form of grad rocket that's been intercepted? So the flashes, are they an explosion from an alternative military rocket hitting their rockets and then sending something flying off and around? I'm not sure, but it's very interesting to say the least. I mean, this is not the first thing that we've seen out of Ukraine. We've had about 2 or 3 pieces in the past month of strange sombrero-shaped ship, orbs, and things of that nature. And there's a more increasing nature as well of strange happenings going on around that place. So, but I don't know, man. It's very weird. Okay, this thing is pulling some mega G's, whatever it is. It's going down and shooting back up again and then buggering off. I'm not sure, mate. You guys let me know what you think. Ukraine, stay safe, man.
Let me know if I'm way off here. Have you ever noticed that when someone sees something unexplainable in the sky, skeptics immediately demand that they explain it? Like, oh, you saw a UFO? Well, what was it then? As if simply witnessing something makes you an expert on its origin all of a sudden. That's completely backwards thinking, if you ask me. So I came across a post about an old interview with Muhammad Ali on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I think I do. But there are actual saucers and objects coming within our atmosphere and flying around, and people got pictures. Everybody cite the same thing in every city, the red and blue and green lights. But the people, authorities completely brush it off as if to say, we are mentally off, but I know it's right because I've been seeing them.
Well, why don't they land then, Muhammad? I mean, if they're intelligent people, why wouldn't they land and step out and say, hi there? Or Galman Ding, whatever they say. You know, why wouldn't they make contact?
They probably figure they can't get no sense out of the people here in this place.
Ali was talking about seeing a bright orb in the sky and something that moved in ways that he couldn't explain. And instead of considering that maybe something genuinely strange was going on, Carson immediately flipped it on Ali, basically saying, well, why would aliens do that? Like, hold on, why is he responsible for explaining the phenomenon? He just saw it. That's not how this works. That's the job of scientists, researchers, the people who claim to be after the real truth. But instead, people like Carson in that moment and others today often use this weird dismissive tactic to make the witness look clueless. It's like a way to deflect instead of actually engaging with the mystery. So here's my question for you. Why do so many so-called skeptics demand explanations from the witness instead of investigating, say, for themselves? Is this just an easy way to shut down the conversation, or do they genuinely not realize how ridiculous that really is?
Okay, we gotta talk about this egg UFO they found in Antarctica. The one that was leaked by a supposed government whistleblower on a certain website that shall not be named. This blower claims to have been part of the recovery mission of a very interesting UAP that's allegedly of ancient origin. UFOs and ancient civilizations? I'm about to blow a little something myself. Your mind. This egg-shaped UAP, as it's being called, was found deep in a cave in the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica, along with a 700-year-old humanoid being in a stasis pod who was still alive, woke up, and talked to us. Reminder, this is just speculation from an anonymous post and is for entertainment purposes only. Did you hear that algorithm? Our whistleblower says he worked for the US Department of Defense in a long Q&A style post with some pretty juicy info, starting the thread off by telling us this video was taken in November of 2022, showing what appears to be a large, smooth, spherical object, not unlike a lot of the Tic Tac UAPs we've been seeing, dangling at the end of a long rope being airlifted by a helicopter. He insists it's an egg-shaped UAP of ancient origin, made from an unknown metal that no one was able to open. Now, let me just preface everything I'm about to reveal by saying the site this leak was posted on isn't exactly known for being a reliable source of valid information, but on the other hand is known for being notoriously anonymous, which admittedly would be ideal for whistleblowers who wish to stay hidden. Either way, take this all with a grain of salt, because what is interesting is that the video shown here is extremely similar to another one released by News Nation, a legitimate American cable news and video network just days earlier. And once again, their video shows an egg-shaped UAP in the same night vision filter dangling at the end of a long rope hanging from a helicopter, which they confirm was leaked to them by another whistleblower that they themselves validated. Two separate videos just a few days apart, both with the same looking egg UFO. Is there something to this, or is it all just a coordinated distraction? Along with the video, News Nation also interviewed Jake Barber, a decorated US Air Force veteran who was contracted by the DoD as a helicopter pilot for crash retrieval, and he reveals that some of his retrievals were definitely not of human origin. He admits that he was sent on helicopter retrievals of unknown objects that he would extract and transport with a long rope, missions that took place at night, and mentions on one particular extraction as he looked down at the object he was carrying through his night vision lens, he saw, and I quote, an egg. A white egg with no visible propulsion system, which is exactly what we see in both of the videos, confirmed by the one manning the helicopter. And bro looks shell-shocked revealing these claims, saying he felt possessed by some ethereal energy during this job, and that shortly after, he and his colleagues got really sick, lost all of his hair, and his skin started to peel, even developed heart problems he's never had before. So Stanford immunologist Gary Nolan took a look at his health diagnostics, insisting he's never seen anything like what Barber and his team experienced, even suggesting the sickness may not be of earthly origin. Jake's claims are also backed up by testimonies from many other of his fellow veterans, like Don Paul, another decorated Special Forces operator who worked with Jake Barber and confirms everything he's saying. Now, along with the egg UAP, the original whistleblower thread reveals that a coffin-like stasis pod was also recovered from the cave in Antarctica, which he says he has pics of, and well, he delivered. According to him, this pod they found had a humanoid being inside that was kept alive without the use of cryogenics. They brought it up to a lab, and very quickly the being awoke from its stasis sleep pod and started interacting with the humans. It was very tall, around 8 feet, with blue eyes, pale skin, white long hair, and a very human-like face, while at the same time looking very non-human. This, in ufology, would be what we call the Nordic aliens, or the tall whites. It proved to be very intelligent, learning English and German in less than a week, and was able to speak directly to the scientists, and can also communicate with select humans telepathically, which you would hear as your voice in your own head, like giving yourself a monologue. The being explained to the team that he was born here 700 years ago, and that his people saved humans from a creator race who engineered us to serve them millions of years ago, which is pretty much exactly what the ancient Sumerian Anunnaki myth is about, which the alien said humanity passed that story down from that very real event. The whistleblower says they even took photos of its thing, which, in case you're wondering, looks like ours, but the tip is more similar to a chimpanzee. His words, please don't look that up. He did also mention that our government has a sort of internal division on what they want to do with this sort of information. That everyone involved falls into one of two groups, those that want disclosure, revealing aliens and UFOs to the public, and those that don't. And that all the UAP Congress hearings, the News Nation video, the Jake Barber leaks we've been shown are all just distractions by the people who want to keep it hidden. Then he shows us additional photos of the the egg, the stasis pod, the Antarctic cave they found everything in, which he claims is from the other group. The cave was part of a larger underground alien base that had been there for thousands of years but has since been abandoned. All they found there was the egg, the sleeping pod, and another metallic box filled with books written in Sumerian and Proto-European. One of the photos even feature what he calls unexplained writing, possibly hieroglyphics, on the walls. These caves were supposedly found in the Queen Elizabeth mountain range in Antarctica, which, oddly enough, this area specifically is extremely pixelated on Google Earth when you zoom in. Meanwhile, other areas right beside it are full of detail. Is there any reason this region was kept off the radar? Our totally reliable and whistleblower finishes off with a very concerning message, claiming that something called the Dwight D. Eisenhower Alliance is very real, where former President Eisenhower met with some of these aliens way back in the 50s and traded American civilians in exchange for their technology, which they studied and developed in classified government projects. But by this time, the thread started going off the rails, with the OP claiming it was hijacked by government disinformation agents pretending to be him, posting another close-up shot of the infamous egg UAP that even shows some sort of markings and writing all over it, but it could very well be AI at this point, which it kinda sucks that AI has sort of infiltrated our sphere of tangible evidence. And today, even real UFO and alien photos and videos could easily be dismissed as AI and mocked. Pics or it didn't happen is officially irrelevant. We do know, at least with a higher degree of certainty, that the News Nation video could very well be real, and this egg UAP is currently in the government's possession. Unless this really is just a massive distraction to cover up what's really happening, which honestly would be even more terrifying. But if it is real, I have a feeling that whatever it is will be revealed to us sooner than later.